First of all, please subscribe to our page for more audiobooks. Thank you. How to Be Free by Joe Blow. Chapter 16. Degrees of Being Alive. A living system is characterized by the free flow of materials, information and energy and an efficient spontaneous interaction with the environment. In our bodies, blood flows constantly, a constant stream of information is carried through our nervous system, oxygen flows into the body and waste products flow out. And we interact relatively spontaneously with our environment. If someone throws a ball at our head, we either duck or try to catch it. When we are dead, these flows will not occur, and our body will not respond to its environment. If you throw a ball at a corpse, you'll hit it quite easily as long as your aim is good. While some of us may be affected by ailments which impede our full efficiency as a living system, there is only minor variation in the aliveness of our bodies, until we are dead. It seems fair to apply this same concept of aliveness to our emotional and intellectual selves. Here we find a great deal of variation in states of aliveness depending on how armored we are. Character armor impedes the free flow of ideas in the mind, and body armor impedes the free flow of emotion. Dogmatic, stereotypical forms of thinking keep the mind closed down and interfere with the individual's ability to think clearly and respond to evidence that might challenge preconceived ideas. And body armor deadens the organism's capacity for bodily sensation. This includes the relief that comes with cathartic expressions of sorrow, joy or anger, as well as the sensory pleasure which can come from the apprehension of visual or oral beauty, the taste of delicious food or the ecstasy of erotic sex. And, when armoring is in place, the individual cannot interact truly spontaneously with their environment. Much concentration is needed to maintain the armoring, and this concentration is not available for acknowledging outside factors. And the armored individual can only respond within the bounds of their stereotyped behavior. To get an idea of the disadvantages of character and body armor, imagine a team of medieval knights in full body armor trying to play a game of football. It is said that most of us only use 10% of our brain's capacity. This is because our thinking is impeded by our character armor. Since thinking truthfully would destroy our armored ego structure, we have to spend a huge amount of our intellectual ability on finding ways to function without thinking truthfully. A good example of this is the theory in evolutionary biology which interprets human behavior in terms of the gene's need to reproduce. See The Moral Animal, Why We Are the Way We Are, The New Science of Evolutionary Psychology by Robert Wright, Vintage, 1995, unable to think truthfully and acknowledge that we are suffering psychologically and that self-directed awareness is the natural response of an organism to suffering, some of us had to find another way to explain, that is justify, this aspect of our behavior. But if one tries to explain human behavior by reference to animal behavior in this way, one ends up with a complex unwieldy theory which strives to explain everything from Shakespeare writing his plays to the Pope wearing a ridiculously large hat as outgrowths of the gene's struggle to proliferate. It takes a huge amount of intellectual effort to build and maintain such a complex alternative to admitting that we have become sick. And, of course, the only individuals who pay any attention to such ridiculous theories are intellectuals. So it is not unfair to speak of the armored individual as being less alive than the unarmored individual, if we judge aliveness in terms of sensory awareness, freedom of thought and capacity for spontaneous interaction with others and the environment. I'm not a religious person, so I don't believe in a life for the ego after physical death. But I look for associations and patterns where I can find them. And it has struck me that a lot of what Jesus is quoted as having said about life after death and not having to die, would make a lot of sense if what was being referred to was not physical death, but the living death of armored existence, especially given the emphasis he placed on sin, that is selfishness, as being a problem to be solved and forgiveness, that is acceptance, as key to that solution. I wouldn't claim that this is what he was talking about. It may simply be another example of the way in which the systematic nature of life and the universe is manifested and repeated.